Okay. All right, we're going to get kicked off today. Hello, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to attend our 2024 PJM Customer Readiness webinar. My name is Ian. I'm a Customer Success Manager for DR programs in the PJM region. I've been at Enel for around about 8 years, and my current role is to make sure our portfolio of customers have everything they need to be successful in the PJM demand response market. My colleague Angie also joins us today.
Thank you, Ian. Hello, everyone. My name is Angie, and I am the program manager for Enel's Mid-Atlantic markets, which encompasses PJM, where I specifically focus on managing our participation in the PJM market, as well as our relationship with the grid operator and local utilities.
Great. Quickly, I just want to walk through our agenda for the day and give you a sense of what we'll be covering. To start the discussion, we're going to do a brief overview of what demand response is and why it exists. Next, we're going to go over the program specifics for this PJM program. Then we'll review the key program changes ahead of the start of the summer program season, which begins on June 1st. And finally, we'll review some additional opportunities that you and your company can take advantage of to earn revenue and work towards your decarbonization goals. But before we get into that, I want to provide an overview of the work Enel is doing in North America and outside of demand response. In 2021, Enel announced plans to invest $190 billion in direct investments by 2030 to accelerate our carbon neutrality goal to 2040, which is one of the most progressive target dates by any company. In the renewable energy space, we are the largest private generator of renewable power in the world. And within demand response, we are the largest aggregator in the world with over 9 gigawatts of demand response capacity, and over 4 gigawatts of that capacity is in North America. We're continuing to grow and expand the programs we can offer our customers within and outside of demand response. And speaking of demand response, PJM is the largest DR program in the country and in our portfolio. Your participation in this program is directly contributing to the energy transition we are looking to achieve at Enel. And now let's get into what demand response is and why it matters. For anyone on this call not familiar with demand response, it's been around for over a decade now and is a pioneering flexibility solution. During times of extreme strain on the grid, whether that's caused by weather, energy pricing, or unexpected system issues like down transmission lines, grid operators pay facilities to curtail their electricity usage. These are called demand response events or dispatches. And the reason this happens is that it's more efficient for grid operators to pay large users of electricity to use less energy than for them to construct peaking power plants, which would sit idle nearly all year and just turn on for 2 to 3 hours during an emergency event. Because these demand response events align with real system-wide strain, curtailing not only gives organizations a chance to earn money through participating in the events, but large pieces of equipment also get protected from brownouts or voltage constraints if the system-wide strain continues to escalate. In the absence of real-time emergency events, the grid operator, in this case PJM, audits your facility to ensure that if an emergency event were to be called, your facility would be able to curtail. Your performance during these audits establishes your capacity payment for the entire program season. So it's critical that when audits are called, you are prepared to respond as if they were a true grid emergency. By curtailing electricity, customers do more than just earn payments. You're strengthening the grid and increasing sustainability while improving your own operational reliability. If you look at this chart, if you look at the chart on this slide, you'll see how much the highest energy demand on a given day is versus the available generation capacity. Those 2 orange days in summer show demand nearly exceeding 100% of supply. Those days are in danger of causing a blackout. But looking at the rest of the year, you can see how rarely days actually cross that dangerous threshold. That's why demand response is so helpful. More than 10% of grid infrastructure costs are spent to meet that peak demand, which occurs less than 1% of the time. And the aforementioned peaker power plants that are active during those times are often very carbon intensive. So by being flexible with your load when called upon, you can help decrease emissions and help the grid remain reliable for you and your local community. And now I'll pass it over to Enel's program manager, Angie, to talk through the specifics of the PJM demand response program and how to be prepared for your audits and emergencies in the coming year.
Thank you, Ian. So I'll start off with a brief overview of the PJM market. Enel has been participating in the PJM programs and helping the PJM region in demand response for nearly for over 15 years now, I believe. And Enel has a really strong regulatory affairs presence in PJM in order to get the best results for you, our customers. And by having the network of customers that we have jointly participating during demand response events through the Enel aggregation, we are also able to support the PJM grid and your communities as well in those times of need that Ian mentioned before. We have built a portfolio at Enel of more than 3,200 sites throughout the region that are participating to help the grid in these times of need. And together, through your collective action, we are able to create a more resilient grid for PJM. Next slide, please. Okay, now I want to run through some of the PJM ELRP demand response program seasonal basics. The summer season will begin shortly and on June 1st of 2024, and it runs through the end of October. If we do not have an emergency dispatch called during that time, there will be a mandatory test that takes place anytime throughout the year and is based on when PJM calls it. We'll have some slides a little bit later in the presentation where we will discuss the specifics around the changes to how the audits have been taking place this year and going forward. However, an emergency dispatch can take place at any time throughout the delivery year. So it's important that you are always prepared since these are absolutely grid critical. If a dispatch is called, however, the typical duration is just around it's a few hours, which usually takes place in the late afternoon in the summer season. Or the early morning during the winter season, mostly due to increased demand on the grid and following the different grid patterns in those different seasons. And in the rare circumstances that an emergency is called, it is also possible that these are called outside of the mandatory event hours, which you can see in the slide, and which change on a season-by-season basis. However, you are not required to respond during those times, as an emergency dispatch might be called earlier or end later than those specified hours. However, if you do end up participating, you will be eligible for additional payments if you do. Next slide, please. Thank you. And since PJM is a year-round program, you may notice that your site has two different nominations. So commitments in terms of how they participate in different seasons. One for the summer season and one for the winter season. The reason for these two nominations being different is to make sure that the seasonality and any operations in your facility and in deviation in operation from season to season are accounted for in order to balance the needs of the grid. The summer baseline, as you can see in the slide, is determined by the peak load contribution, or the PLC for short, which takes your average load during PJM's top 5 coincident peak load hours of the previous summer. On the other hand, the WPL, which is the winter baseline, stands for winter peak load, takes the average of your peak loads from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. on PJM's top 5 peak load days of 2 winters ago. So note the difference in the way that these two baselines, the two seasonal baselines, are calculated in order to best represent your facility's seasonal capabilities. Next slide, please. And let's talk a little bit about what a dispatch will look like. We'll be reviewing some actual notifications that you'll receive in the case that a dispatch is called by PJM. If you look at the slide on the left, we have our elevated alert notifications, and these are sent via email when there is an expected strain on the grid. These will show anywhere between 5 to 7 days of what our forecast is and what conditions are expected to look like during those 5 to 7 days. And the purpose of this email is to help you prepare in the event an actual emergency dispatch is called. And as you can see, it has all the 3 different tiers where we believe, where we describe the forecasted likelihood of a dispatch being called, which is high, elevated, and normal. And then on the right, we have an example of an actual dispatch notification. If and when a dispatch is called by PJM, whether it's for an emergency event or just a test/audit, the notifications would look the same to you, and you should treat them as if they were both vital for the grid. So you will also be able to receive some text notifications as well. So between that and the emails, please make sure that Enel's phone number and email addresses are saved in your systems so that you know when a dispatch is called, and you will not experience any issues in receiving our dispatch notifications. And then also please make sure that once you receive these notifications, you acknowledge them, and then shortly after begin enacting your energy reduction plan as soon as possible. Next slide, please. So what actually happens when a dispatch does occur? And this slide will guide you through kind of like the general process that your company should follow were this to be the case. First of all, you will be notified. You'll be receiving the notification that we looked at in the slide before, whether it's by phone, text, email. Please make sure that once you receive this notification, you confirm receipt so that we're able to make sure that you actually receive the notification. Then number 2, please begin to enact your energy reduction plan in order to meet your energy reduction target. And really important is that you stay at that level throughout the duration of the dispatch. And then third, finally, we have restore. At the end of the dispatch, you will receive a restore notification, which at the time denotes that the dispatch has ended, and then and only then will your facility be able to begin to resume operations as normal. It is important to note, especially on that second respond section over there, that it is really important to maintain your DOP2 target in order to maintain your performance. That's why please wait until you receive the restore notification to resume normal operations of your facility and stop enacting your energy reduction plan in order to make sure that you protect all your earnings. And I think that is it from me. So now I'll pass things back to Ian for him to go into detail about monitoring and performance, which you can do in the Enel platform.
Nice, thanks, Angie. A great feature of our portal is being able to track your performance during a demand response event in real time. When you receive the dispatch activation notice from us, You should make sure to first confirm receipt of that notification, whether it's by phone, text, or email. Then be sure to log into the Enel demand response application and navigate to the active dispatches tab. If you have an Enel meter installed, you can monitor your dispatch performance, your expected target baseline, and actual usage in real time. But before we need to worry about tracking real-time performance, we need to get you enrolled in the coming year. That information, like the active dispatch monitoring, is interactive in our online portal. When we've calculated your drop to targets, baselines, and other enrollment information for the coming year, we'll send you an email prompting you to log into the My Account section of our portal. Many of you have already gotten this email for the 24-25 program year. Upon receiving this email, you can either click the link in the email directly or navigate through the online platform to verify your site level information. There are 3 items to confirm in the portal ahead of the new demand response program year. First is to confirm your enrollment KW. This is what your site will be expected to perform at during a dispatch, whether that's an audit or a true emergency. Second, your site contacts. It's very important to have up-to-date contacts so we can reach the right people on activation days. And finally, it's important to review your energy reduction plan so you are confident in the plan when a test or emergency activation occurs. Another added benefit of using our demand response application is being able to view and track your earnings. In the payment section of our application, if you are a permissioned financial user, you'll be able to access information from earnings over the years to see exactly how much benefit demand response has been for your business. In addition, you can add filters and export the data for further analysis or to share with others. We also provide easy access to the latest financial statement here. It's worth noting that payments won't be finalized following an emergency event until the performance data is finalized. So it won't show up here quite next day, but it will be available here. And now I'll pass it back to Angie to go over some recent program rule changes.
Thank you, Ian. Yes, so now that we have talked about how to prepare for the season and some basics of the program, I wanted to review what to actually expect when a dispatch happens and all the changes that we have experienced this year and will be experiencing this upcoming year. So as I noted before, when you get a dispatch notification, it can be one of 2 types of dispatches. Either a test or an audit or a real emergency event. The first one that we'll talk about is the test or the audit. And this is something that changed in the 23-24 season and will remain in place for this year as well. These are test dispatches, which are triggered at PJM's discretion and will last 2 hours. One thing to note is that when you receive the dispatch notification, it will not include an end time. So as I mentioned in the slides before, it is expected to end 2 hours after the start of the dispatch, but please wait to actually receive that restore notification in order to resume normal operations. And for this type of dispatch, for the audit/test, you will receive a 2-week open audit window notification for when the test can actually take place. So you will know 2 weeks in advance. Well, you will know a week in advance about when the 2-week window for when the audit will take place. And then you will receive a day ahead notification to let you know the exact date of when the audit will take place. And then finally, on the day of, you will receive a notification of when, like the actual time of when the audit will start based on your predetermined lead time. It is important to note that because ultimately it is PJM, the grid operator, the one that ultimately decides when these audits will happen. Enel, when the when the 2-week audit window opens, Enel does not know when the actual date that the audit will take place, and similarly, when Enel receives the day ahead notification and subsequently sends it to you and your facility and all your contacts, we are also not aware of the exact time of day for when the audit will take place until we get the first day of notification, and we immediately send it to your contacts at your facility. So Enel makes a big effort to make sure that you are as kept up to date on as much information as Enel has on the scheduling of your audit. And performance is really important in the audits because it'll impact your program payments at the end of the day. So it's also very important to keep an eye out for when your audit will be scheduled, as it will determine and impact your payments for the program year. And the second type of dispatch is the emergency dispatch, the real emergency dispatch. These dispatches are triggered when the grid is extremely stressed, typically due to either an extreme weather event or a generator outage or any sort of issue on the grid that requires the assistance of demand response resources in order to remain stable. For emergencies, you will receive a 30-minute notice, since these are real grid emergencies and events will a lot of the time PJM does not know exactly when they will happen, and these emergency events will typically last a few hours. It really depends on what the trigger of the event was and the needs of the grid at the time and when they are resolved. And one thing to note about the emergency events is a change that we have this year, where PJM has kind of split up the emergency dispatch into 2 categories. Emergency category 1, which is the lowest level, and then emergency category 2, which is the highest. The way that I would characterize it is that the emergency category 1 is the same as we had in the past. So whenever you would have gotten an emergency dispatch in previous years, that's what the emergency category 1 would entail. But PJM has instituted an extra category, which is the emergency category 2, for a grid emergency that is of a higher need. So that is to say that if an emergency event is called, it is really important for your contacts and your facility to remain vigilant and respond as soon as possible in order to assist the needs of the grid as they are needed. And I think I'll pass it on to you, Ian, to kind of give us a little bit of background on why these changes happened.
Yeah, thanks, Angie. So the main reason the new audit rules were enacted was to make sure that audits better emulate true emergency event conditions. They also better align with how other North American grid operators test their demand response participants, and PJM wanted to follow with the current industry standards. Regarding the new emergency dispatch category, PJM made this change so they have greater flexibility in how they can use DR to help alleviate grid issues. But it's worth noting that the change does not mean that emergency events will be more frequent. And finally, it's worth noting these changes affect all DR participants regardless of which curtailment service provider they're enrolled with. And I'll pass it off to Angie once again to cover some non-DR energy solutions that might make sense for your site.
Thanks, Ian. So I wanted to run through a few additional opportunities that your organization or facility can take advantage of to help any decarbonization goals, to increase and earning potential, and help save or reduce energy costs. Next slide, please. So to start off, I definitely want to acknowledge that every organization might be at a different place in their energy journey. So understanding where your own organization or your own facility is, and what your goals might be, is a key factor in getting started. Today, by really only participating in demand response, you likely just fit into bucket C over here, of looking to lower costs and becoming more resilient. But meeting the two of these three challenges can be easy, but in order to meet all three, working with the right partner is extremely important. We believe that to fully achieve the energy transition, and for our customers to realize the greatest amount of value, we need to strike the right balance between sustainability, resilience, lowering costs, revenue generation, and all of the work that we do here at Enel. So following the next few slides are some ideas that can help you and your organization deepen your resiliency, lower your costs, through DR and some other programs, and also some additional products that you can consider to achieve the trifecta that we have in this slide of flexibility, resilience, and revenue generation. Next slide, please. Okay. First, I wanted to talk about an additional demand response program that's available in the PJM market that customers are able to take advantage of, since we are in the vein of talking about demand response. There are multiple demand response programs available in PJM, which enables you, the customer, to have a stacked revenue stream available outside of the main DR offering, which is the ELRP program, which is what we have been talking about up until now. The main program that we're talking about is the PJM Synchronized Reserves Market Program. It's a handful, but it is SRM for short, where customers are able to earn an additional revenue on top of their ELRP program participation. And in order to participate in the SRM, you have to qualify for it, as it is a little bit different than the ELRP program. First of all, the SRM program provides mostly short-term fast response support to the grid, mostly in case of an unexpected spike in demand or drop in supply. So while in the ELRP program, you will have a lead time that is according to your enrollment, that can be at least 30 minutes. Participants in SRM have only 10 minutes to fully enact their participation plan. However, the dispatches are much shorter. They last around 9 minutes on average. And SRM operates 24/7, 365 on an hourly basis. And if you're considering SRM, a good candidate for this program has a stable energy use, as well as regularly scheduled operations, and can easily curtail through either an automated curtailment, through on-site generation, or general just facility flexibility. And because these dispatches only last an average of 9 minutes, there should be minimal disruptions to your facility's operations through participating in this program. Next slide, please. Now we can talk about metering. So next, the metering and data visibility could be a key component to many customers, both for participating in demand response as well as additional benefits that can be provided to your facility. The key benefits of having an analysis meter at your facility are that, one, you can view real-time data at any time, regardless of whether a demand response dispatch is going on, which can help you and your facility understand how and when you are using electricity and help you gain insight on your usage. The second one is that when a dispatch does occur, you will have the visibility into where you are at that time compared to your target and how your curtailment plan is working in order to meet your reduction goals. And then number three, going off of number two, having the insight as to where you are running during a dispatch and how you are performing as a result can better assist you with meeting the goals of the program in order to maximize your performance potential and therefore your earnings in a demand response program. And if this is something that you're interested in or your facility might be interested in, we currently have two options to meet your needs. The first one is a self-install option, which has a lower monthly cost and allows you to easily install the metering on your own and maintain it as needed. Or we also have the turnkey service offering where Enel will send an approved provider to install and maintain the metering system and also monitor it real time to make sure that everything is working correctly and send someone to troubleshoot if we notice any downtime in the system. And while metering is not required to participate in demand response, it can be a valuable tool for not only for your participation in DR, as I mentioned before, but also for just everyday use and data gathering purposes. Next slide, please. So now let's move on from everything that's demand response related. As some of you might be aware, the passage of the Inflation Reduction Act, or IRA for short, has opened many doors in the energy landscape. The IRA has enabled the financial viability of on-site solar, storage, solar plus storage in many new markets, especially PJM. First, and I'll summarize some of the benefits, there is an extension of the solar tax credits, which provides 10-year certainty for both investment and production of these technologies. And the second, there's also the new standalone storage ITC, so the investment tax credit, which reduces upfront capital costs of storage systems by around 30%, and also provides a potential for further reduction if specific conditions are met on the project. And one thing that's important to note is that because all of these benefits are in place, we do expect there to be a rush of storage development in PJM, which is going to likely add further stress on battery hardware supply chains, as well as interconnection queues, which are already pretty strained as we speak. And that is to say that what this means is that the time to act is now, while both the incentives and the resources are available if this is something that you, your facility, or your organization are interested in. Next slide, please. And the benefits of working with Enel is our ability to be your one-stop shop for pretty much everything that we've covered in the past few slides. Since flexibility is an ever-increasing priority for both us and the grid, it is also a need for customers, grid operators. Installing a system like solar plus storage has some really important factors in the value of its flexibility for whoever does it, and especially for our customers. First of all, it is decreasing costs both by bill savings and peak reduction, and also second one, increasing revenue. through having these systems participate in demand response programs and also any earnings incentives that might be available to your facility. And these two things are really vital to drive most the most economic value to you, the customer. Additionally, if solar plus storage may be part of your energy journey, Enel makes it really easy since we are able to finance the DER system at no cost to you. And there is also a quick rundown of what that may look like here in the slide. So number one, Enel, well, as I said, like finances the DER system. And then you, the customer, will enter either a fixed PPA contract or a benefit share agreement. Second, the DER system offsets your total energy consumption as well as peak demand, overall reducing your utility bill. And now the utility will then pay Enel for any of the grid services that that system provides, whether that is through DER participation or the incentives that I mentioned before. And while you will continue to purchase residual power that you might need from the utility directly. And then finally, Enel will share the benefits with you according to some sort of predetermined benefits split in the contract that has been set during contract negotiations. Next slide, please. So yeah, if you are interested in learning more about any of these opportunities that I mentioned in this past slides, please reach out to either your account manager or Enel's customer support team for more information. They are willing and able and eager to help you get started on your energy transition journey. And I think that this is the next, the one of the last slides. Next slide, please. So yeah, let's in order to wrap up, I wanted to first of all thank everyone, but remind our participants in this webinar that participating in demand response is a vital resource to build grid resiliency and flexibility, and it's one of the many steps that you and your facility can take in order to better position you in the sustainability energy transition. Being prepared for any DR event is important. So in order to do that, I'm going to leave you with these three simple steps for you to go off into the start of the season with. Before the summer season starts, please let us know if you have had any significant operational changes over the past year. So we can make sure that you have an accurate energy reduction plan and we are able to enact any changes that need to be done. And then second, make sure to confirm and update all site and contact information in the My Account section of the Enel XDR application. And then finally, reach out to us anytime with questions via phone or email. Our information is in the slide for your reference. And I think with that, I don't really have anything else. So here's to a great 2024 demand response season. Thanks, everyone.